Sequoia Technology, SEQTEK. You've been in software for a really long time. How did you get started in software? Oh,
So I got started. I read an article about Steve Jobs when I was very young, um, and I still remember going into my father. He was sitting there. He had just gotten back from work, and I said, "Dad, I figured out what I wanted to do because originally I wanted to be a forest ranger, you but I figured out what I wanted to do. I wanted to create the stuff that runs on the hardware. That's all I told him, right?" Uh, And so that was in 1980.
wow.
And it just so happened he went to work, and my dad was a great horse trader. It didn't matter what he had, he could trade it up for something else. And he came home and he said, "Hey, there's a guy at work." He worked at Universal Tire Plant, he was the head of maintenance. "There's a guy at work has just bought a computer, one of these new things he read about, and he can't make it work.
Huh.
You want it?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty good." Well, I had just bought a Winchester 3030 for deer season. And he said, "Well, I think he wants a rifle. So if you'll trade that rifle, I think you get the computer." And I was like, "Whoa, I just bought that 3030. I really like it. So it took me a day, but I told him that next morning. I said, "Yeah, I'll do the trade." So I gave him the rifle. He came back with a computer. And I'm not kidding. I don't think I slept for a month. I
Wow.
was on the thing writing code. There were magazines you used to be able to buy that had code in them, and you could just fat finger all the code in there and then just see what it did. And that's how I started. And so by the time I had left high school, I had started enrolling in the local college classes to learn development. And I'll tell you, I went to Murray State College. This is kind of years down the road. I had tried to play baseball and basketball for 1 year. That kind of took me away from it. But I came back and I went to the local community college. And there was a guy there named, I still remember his name, Hayden Matthews. Hayden Matthews was my professor there. And I'll bet he taught me more about the proper way to develop code, understand the problems. That's where he spent a lot of time with us defining the problem first, and then from there building software. Um, Hayden Matthews actually went on to start a software development company in Durant,
Oh,
and
wow.
started doing a lot of development in North Texas and southern Oklahoma. So he was a really sharp guy, and he just made a big difference. It's interesting how you can. I mean, you go to MIT, it's going to be a lot better,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying that, but sometimes you can just run across a path of a dude that just
Mhm.
really understands what he's doing and knows how to lay it out, and you just learn a lot. And that's what happened to me. So,
That's
and then so
awesome.
from there, um, I went to Oklahoma State and um, was going to start the computer science program, and actually met a girl at a bar that was working for the state of Oklahoma, and she told me, "Hey, we need a developer." And so I was in Stillwater for like 2 days, and I got a software development job with the state of Oklahoma.
So you
Before
don't. So
I
you're
don't have
there
a
two
degree,
days. You haven't even started
I hadn't even
classes.
started class yet,
Wow.
and I went to Oklahoma State with a computer science associate's degree.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got a development job. So then I worked for the state, and I wrote software for the Oklahoma Bid Assistance Program. People can sign up, and then we used to take all this content from World Banks and different things. And so I wrote just a ton of code that did indexing and lookups, and then we would print out reports for small businesses all over the state of Oklahoma. And then another program I wrote was one for um, grades and attendance at VOTEC schools. So that was kind of how that was where I learned kind of the mechanics of how to create production code, because once we had 55 VOTECs, once we delivered the code, we didn't have the internet back then. So
Yeah.
I would build all the software and put it on floppy disks, put it in an envelope and send it out. And they had to be able to install it, and it had to work.
Can't send a patch.
Can't stand a patch.
Yeah, can't be like, oh man,
Yeah.
I found a bug 2 weeks later.
Right. It was.
There's no GitHub just to
right.
update
It was.
there.
It was one and done.
So you mentioned the internet, and it's my understanding from what you've told me before that the internet was figured heavily into the beginning of SEQTEK.
Yeah.
And so if we fast forward a little bit, would you like to talk a little bit about how SEQTEK came to be, and what you were doing at the time, and talk a little bit about the founding of SEQTEK?
Yeah. So I had one thing led to another, and I actually got a job here in Tulsa with a consulting company called SimCase International. What SimCase did is they sold about three different ERP packages, and ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And so we did a lot of work with manufacturing companies, and this enterprise software, what it does is it handles everything from order taking to part build to vendor relationship. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
Nuts and bolts, A to Z of a manufacturing company. Well, so I was the head of division. We had about 13 people in the division of that company. And what we did was we did all the hardware installs, the networking, the database, and the software adjustments. So we would do integrations to other software products. So that's what we did there. Well, at the same time, my brother and I, on the side, we had started a internet service provider in Bartlesville. So we were one of the first internet service providers. This was the mid '90s.
Wow.
And
Yep.
so the whole idea of SEQTEK was basically to, if you think about enterprise software, it's so large and it's so expensive, but it's not exactly what every manufacturing company needs. It's nearly everything, but with the kind of companies we were working with, we were in the $1 to $3 billion range is where we were. So that tells you that these guys were really successful. But they're usually not multinationals. They don't get to set their own rules. And so what had happened is these guys had figured out something that made them unique in their marketplace. It was also usually something that made it to where they didn't quite fit the ERP model. There was usually something. So there was always like a 10 to 20% of their business that didn't exactly fit the ERP model.
And that was their selling point.
That was their selling point. That was
Yeah.
their uniqueness. It either made them really valuable to their customers, or it made it to where they were able to deliver a product at a cheaper price, or whatever it may be. Well, normally what would happen is you would go into a company like that, and the ERP system would basically govern that they needed to change. Okay, well, now all of a sudden they look like everybody else. Most of the time, these small businesses knew better, and they would go, no, you're changing. Okay, well, that's even worse, because now all of a sudden you've changed a common piece of software that is really expensive to maintain, and even if it worked perfectly, 18 months later, they're going to come up with a new version that they couldn't go to. So now they're stuck. So SEQTEK had a pretty simple idea. What we wanted to do is we wanted to take that 15 to 20%, and we wanted to write software that attached to it, that integrated with it.
Gotcha.
And we wanted to use the internet as the delivery mechanism so that that additional software was easy to publish. If you remember my concept, we had to deliver software in floppy disks, right? And it was a one and done. What the internet was amazing for me. I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. I could actually make a change, publish it, and everybody that is using the software could see it. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to deliver this software through the browser. So we came up with a tagline. It was a real simple one, and we use it today, and it was moving back office data forward. And we do that for our customers, suppliers, shareholders, and employees. And in that software, when we delivered that, we could actually provide these small little pieces that made that implemented their uniqueness without them having to change their ERP software.
Yeah.
And it was a great win-win. And so we started in August of 99. And within a year, we had well over 20 people. And we were in Houston and Salt Lake City and
Wow.
Austin. And so, I mean, it was the right tagline at the right time.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.